Ladies and gentlemen, please be standing for the town there.
Good evening everyone, welcome to this extraordinary meeting of Whitby Town Council. Please be seated. Notice of meeting. This meeting has been called in accordance with Schedule 12, paragraph 9(1) of the Local Government Act 1972. Public notice of the meeting is given in accordance with Schedule 12, paragraph 10(2) of that Act. Moving on to the agenda. Number 1, apologies for absence. To receive and resolve upon apologies for inability to attend.
Chair, I have apologies from Councillors Harrison, Goodbury and Mrs White.
And we have someone to accept those apologies. Councillor Turner, can we have a second? Councillor Coughlin, all those in favour? Thank you. Number 2, declaration of interest. Declare any interest which members have in the following agenda items. Councillors, are there any declaration of interest? No, thank you. Item 3, public participation. Standing orders will be suspended for up to 15 minutes to allow for questions or statements submitted by members of the public, limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak? Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Joyce Mango, a resident of Whitby. First of all, I find it difficult to comment on this particular subject, as I do not know what Whitby Town Council has submitted to North Yorkshire Council, and I'm not quite sure what North Yorkshire Council has commented on. But I cannot see any reason not to register this location, although I think the location needs to be decided on as an ACV to give it slightly better protection as as we have no idea how the council or the government will think in the next year or so, and we do need to protect every bit of our green space within this town. I would suggest we look at the plan in the one that's blue-edged, and possibly even include Fishburn Park Pitch, which I understand is on a lease agreement from Yorkshire Water. This edging here doesn't include the changing rooms, which is on the official lease. The reason I've suggested not to include it is, I think we should be looking at trying to get a little bit of green space at the front, which I think is a playing field at the moment. I don't know if people are aware, but I'm chairing the steering group for the neighbourhood plan, and on the visits to the Abbey View development, we spoke to a lady there that was saying the children have nowhere to play and run around. Both the 3G pitch and the Fishburn Park pitch, I understand, are going to be fenced off, so there'll be still no places for the children to play. So I would suggest, instead of having the old changing rooms that are not going to be any use, that we look at some sort of space to build a new changing room. But can I go further, and can I ask the Town Council speak to North Yorkshire on a long-term plan? Part of the Net Zero Village, although I have no idea where that's going, was to provide a community hub. Surely it would be better to have a community hub adjacent to these two fields with changing facilities that could be used by all. And can I just suggest, I know we've got people from Whitby Town Football Club, that an ACV would be open to anybody to take over. We do not know, well I don't know, what the user agreement is from North Yorkshire Council. Does anybody know what the user agreement is? Because I understand from the gentleman behind me that they haven't been able to use the football pitch. So I think you need a lot more information before you can actually say that we shouldn't go for listing this as an ACV. And I see absolutely no problem in going forward with it anyway, but I think you must be clear about what portion of land you would like to see registered. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening everybody, my name is Graham Hitchler from Whitby Town Football Club. I'd just like to address you tonight just to first and foremost say that the football club in no way want the 3G pitch to be closed down. Contrary to one or two people's opinions and what's been going out on social media, we are not in favour of the pitch up at SBL closing. Our main concern is in two areas. The first one being, for some reason, we as one of the major sports institutions in the town have not been allowed to use the pitch for our soccer schools and soccer camps. We have 2 full-time employees employed by the club who go into schools, colleges and work in Whitby area. One full-time at Cambridge College that we, the football club, pay for, and the other individual goes into individual schools in the area. For this week we would normally have a soccer camp where we have boys and girls, 40 to 50 individuals under our coaches, all fully qualified, all DBS checked, more than well qualified, that is a requirement for the higher facility. And for the last 2 half terms we've been told that you're not allowed to use it. So my reasoning for putting an objection into the community asset is, how can it be a community asset when the football club, one of the biggest football institutions in the town, is not allowed to use it? If this continues, we will end up with potentially 2 employees, Whitby-based, Whitby people who work for the club, being out of work. So I really just wanted to make a point this evening to the council to say, firstly, we do not want the pitch closed down. Yes, we'd love a 3G pitch up at the football ground, but one of my companies works very closely with the FA, and I'm aware of the requirement that that pitch has to remain in use and have over 50% usage to qualify for the grants. And we, as a football club, are wanting to use it. but for some reason you've been blocked. And I would like to know why that is. And then if there is a community plan for the 3G pitch, I would like to think that the football club, the cricket club and the rugby club are all included in that consultation process in order that we can provide some input, and hopefully we want to use the facility ourselves, which will help increase the usage. I just wanted to make that decision.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Knott, you can ask a question and we come on to the agenda item. Is there any other members of the public who wish to speak? No? Right, well thank you very much. Right, we'll move on to the agenda item number 4. Application for registration of asset of community value. To further consider a request for the Town Council to sponsor an application to North Yorkshire Council to register the 3D pitch at Esquire School and surrounding areas as an asset of community value. Councillor Knott, you wish to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it would help if we knew the reasons that you were denied the use of the pitch, which you didn't say in your talk. Is it your answer?
Yeah,
you answer that?
I can, because it's an agenda item, I can suspend standing orders again if you'd like to respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, I would really appreciate it if you could get to the bottom of why Whitby Town Football Club are not allowed to use it. One of the items mentioned to us previously was that potentially our coaches weren't qualified. In the actual document to use the pitch, our coaches are actually more than qualified to use it. They work in schools and sixth form colleges, so we tick all the boxes. So I would really appreciate if you could investigate this online.
Thank you for that response.
On that one slide.
No, go back, Councillor Knott, please.
I think it's fair to say that the integrity of the football club and the skill of your coaches and their qualifications is not in question. But I do think, Mr. Mayor, it would help if we could investigate from whoever the specific reasons for that being denied. I note that this decision was deferred to enable consultation with other interested groups, and we haven't got the full consultation yet because you're unable to supply through no fault of your own. It's also established, Mr. Mayor, that there is no immediate declared threat to the facility, which I think it is important to note. The recommendation is that an application in the registry is not made at this time. So any decision that we make is not final now. It can be regarded, if you like, as a temporary decision to be confirmed or otherwise at a later date when we have more facts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor, would you just like to elaborate on this proposal, this motion?
I would, Chair. For clarity, and as Councillor Knott has identified, at the previous meeting, councillors deferred the decision because there had been objections raised on the original proposal which came from the original applicant with the support of the community network. Further discussions with representatives of Whitby Town Football Club and with the sports development team at North Yorkshire Council have opened that up a little bit, and it's perhaps for the purposes of the decision as to whether or not to seek to register the venue as an asset of community value. That's a very discrete decision about following a process that's mandated under the Localism Act of 2011. A community has the right, through the parish council or an incorporated group such as a charity or an unincorporated group which has at least 21 local electors willing to sign up, to submit an application to register an asset of community value if there is a fear, or indeed if there is any even inkling that that needs to be flagged up as something that might be being disposed of or in other way is going to be lost to use in the community. The process itself does not secure the asset. It does not give first refusal rights to any particular organisation in the community. It merely provides them with 2 moratoriums if the owner of that facility is looking to dispose of it, either through a lease or through a sale. And that is to flag up that that decision is going through, which would then allow a community group, and not necessarily the one that flagged up as a community asset, to register its interest in putting together a bid. It would then, if it were to do that within 3 months, it's then got a further 3 months to submit a bid. However, the body that's disposing of the asset is not required to dispose of it to the community, even if the community submits a bid. So the commercial aspects of it still exist. The advice that I've received from Sports Development of North Yorkshire is that the facility, insofar as any disposal or any consideration of it at any time, would have to be in the public because of the way that it's funded. And over a 25-year period at least, through the funding of the Football Foundation, through the community use agreement to which the signatories include, at the time, Eskdale School, North Yorkshire County Council, Scarborough Borough Council, the Football Foundation itself, Whitby Fisherman Society Football Club, Fishburn Park Football Club and Slights Football Club. Those signatories form the core of the community steering group that is established around the management of the pitch. They have been looking at management models going forwards, depending on what happens with the school and its continued use of that area. But there is a strong commitment within North Yorkshire, through that steering group, to retain the asset because it's funded as a community asset, and that protection is at least as good and at least as public as anything that could be done through submitting an asset, an application to submit it as an asset of community value. Experience of that process says that as soon as you invoke it, you create red tape, not just for the current owner or owners, but also for any group that wants to be part of a managed transfer. So if over the next year, or 5 years, or even in 15 years' time, if there was to be a transfer to a community entity, that would still invoke all of the stops that are required in the legislation. Although the asset application lasts for 5 years, but it can be renewed. But let's say within 5 years, if the proposal were to transfer it to a community interest company or an organisation based in or around the site that wasn't directly linked to the school, and that was a beneficial local community group, it would still lead to all of the same checks and balances that it would if it was a commercial disposal to get rid of the site altogether. Given that it's North Yorkshire Council, and given that the advice also from the county councillors is that the protection offered by the current community use agreement provides at least the same level of protection from anything being done in secret, anything being done behind closed doors, that at this time, without there being any suggestion of any disposal or any concern about disposal, there's no added benefit to the town council submitting an application to register it as an asset of community value. Hence, the recommendation is based on the advice received, and it reflects the conversations both with the original applicant and also with the football club.
Any councillors wish to make a comment? Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's absolutely no doubt that the value of this pitch is paramount to every local within this town. And I think it's crucial that we keep it as a community use. There's been a few things raised this evening that I think before we could make any decision we do need clarity on. One thing would certainly be why the football club can't use it when you've got all the relevant, things in place to do so, qualifications. And the other point has been raised by the other member of the public regarding the building that's going on up there and the possibility of the community hub or lack of, but it would make common sense to have all that round up and know what's going on. And I shouldn't really say it, but one doesn't have a lot of faith in promises made sometimes. I like to see things absolutely cemented in. And I think for that, we need all information on the table before we make the decision from this council. Thank you.
Councillor Barnett.
Yes, I mean, my point is just that I just don't understand how we would want to do this. I don't understand it. Why wouldn't we want to take what is a huge asset to the local community under our wing? Why not? Somebody could answer that question. Or why wouldn't? We need to put due process in here to get it done. Now, if that's a bit difficult, it takes a bit of time, and it costs a bit of money, so be it. We haven't got much of this stuff left. In fact, we've got very little left. And, you know, if we don't register it, and, you know, it says here, you know, we recommend, based on the advice of the head of sport and activity well-being, whoever that is, that an application to register an asset of community value is not made. An application to register an asset of community value. Doesn't that phrase say it all?
Just Councillor Barnett, just saying, it says, is not made at this time.
Sorry?
The full line is, to register an asset of community value is not made at this time.
I want it made at this time. That's the point.
Councillor Abbott.
Thank you. What Councillor Knocker and Councillor Turner said, I agree, we do need all the information that is required for this. Over the years, Scarborough Council have been using the 3G bridge or 4G bridge as an asset for the community on the east side as an extra playing field. And that means that deters other areas from being required for the necessary purposes what the town needs. It was also pointed out that the amount of green space that they have on the east side and the west side is very, very limited for the amount of population that we have and the government requirement that the area that we all should have for a green space. And I think that, as Councillor Turner said, the more information that we have, the easier it's going to be to make that decision and acceptable to everybody.
I just want a clarification here. My understanding is that it is a separate company that asks staff to register as an asset of community value for them to run, not for us to run, but it was a way for them to get hold of it through us because they were not allowed to do it. That was my understanding.
Chair, the original application was by Social Enterprise International Limited, but it was, in the same way, it wasn't, and it is in no way, it's not an application to take it on or to take it under any organisation's wing, it's merely to flag it as an asset of community value. The work that, as I understand it, Social Enterprise International have been doing with Eskdale School was around an ecological hub development idea, of which the 3G pitch itself was not fundamental but was ancillary. They were seeking to secure the site for the potential development of that ecological hub principle, but that falls outside registering as an asset of community value. That doesn't take that any further forward, it just flags the site as an asset of community value. It's a label that's applied that then puts the brake if North Yorkshire and or any other landlords involved were to seek to dispose either by lease or by sale of the freehold of the land.
Yeah, can I just say, what we seem to be saying is that what members of the public have said is that they're different areas. I can see, but you're not members of the public, so we may need...
People were allowed to have another comeback. Could I please have
No. If you let me speak, There is lack of clarity about what the asset of community value should be. Should it include other areas? The current advice is that not to do it at this time, and we have got a recommendation in front of us, unless any councillors, Councillor Turner?
Could I move that we defer this decision until we have all that information on the table and we know actually what we are looking, if we were going to support it moving forward, if there does need to be an additional area included in that space. If you're going to make the application, you want to do it once and you want to do it right. So I think absolutely we need to know what we're actually looking forward to. Really wanted and requested from the public. I do think there needs to be more consultation with certain groups so we're making an informed decision from the council. So I would move that we wait until we've got that further information to make that decision.
But isn't what you're suggesting, Councillor Turner, this recommendation, based on the advice that an application to register is not made at this time? We have effectively deferred making an application.
Chair, could I interrupt? Sorry. Could I move that we allow suspension of standing orders for further public participation before we go to that point?
If you wish to call that to the second and voted on,
Do we have a seconder for that proposal?
Can I make a comment before you do
Yes.
that? I think we've heard everybody and we understand what's going on. I personally want to know why the football club and the rugby club and the children can't use the sites now. And I don't want to vote on it either way until I know why the children can't use the site at the moment. So I'm looking to know.
the suspension of standing orders has been moved and seconded.
Yes. Do we have? We move to the vote for suspension of standing orders. All those in favour?
Well,
Against? Abstain? Okay, I suspend standing orders.
One of the things I'm a bit surprised at is that the councillors have not got the maps of the area. And the area I'm suggesting to try and include green space and space to put a community hub and changing rooms is likely to be out with the protected area that North Yorkshire Council and the Football Association have marked. So if you do not put an asset of community value in for the whole area, we know for a fact that North Yorkshire Council are going to sell off that estate, apart from the bits that they're not allowed to. So if you want to protect some extra space to provide a decent set of changing rooms and a play area for the kids to run around on that's not fenced in, you need to submit an ACB. I think you really need to sit down and think about this. The long-term planning has got to be put forward for this town. You can't just let everything disappear. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, didn't intend to speak tonight. Cliff, who put the original application in, couldn't come. So there's a couple of wee bits that I want to try and clear up. First thing is, I talked to Graham about why they weren't able to actually book the pitch. And I don't think that's a massive issue. I think that just needs Scarborough School and the football club coming together. I mean, when the pitch was originally built, it was community money going in. All local clubs was asked to contribute to become part of the clubs. And as part of that small contribution, all the clubs put in, and people were raising money left, right and centre, they became part of clubs and automatically got 50% discount on booking of the pitch. Now, on other areas of hiring the pitch, if you're doing coaching sessions, you can have all the badges in the world, but if you've not got the amount of coaches for the, there's a set ratio coaches to children, and you've got to have that. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason they haven't been able to book, but it's a possibility. But that is something that can be easily ironed out with a conversation between, the council, the football club, because I truly believe that if you look at the usage of the pitch now, you've probably got a 30% vacant use, and I think the football club could take that up and make that pitch successful. Going back to the other point where the original application was made by a company, that company was working with Estail School in the Eco Club, and again they are able to access lots of European funding. And the idea when the Eco Club was on the go, that they wanted to build an eco centre on Estail School site. Now the funding that they partially secured would have needed a small amount of match funding, but they were confident they could secure the funding, but it could only be used in an area that's deemed to be deprived, and the east side actually come under that umbrella. So it made sense that when the school shut, they was desperate to keep this eco club that could become a community hub, an eco club with a bit of match funding. You could put a couple of changing rooms on the end of it, and that was the idea behind that. I think, going back to the plan, the blue outline, so I'm the site manager at the school for 10 years, and I've looked at that outline, and that blue outline doesn't include a lot of things that are necessary for that pitch. There's a massive tank underneath one of the fields that's not in a blue outline, and that's all the rainwater, excess water from the farmland above that gets sipped away and regulated into the sewerage system. Now, before we had that tank, the road near AGI and Sainsbury's used to ice over in the winter, and the council used to be on at the school all the time saying it's dangerous, it's your responsibility. So if that land was actually sold off, it's not blue outlined, then that drainage system would disappear along with everything else. But I do think that it just needs a group, not deferring for a great amount of time. The last meeting we said we'd get a meeting very quickly, get all parties together, look at the outline, and as a community, we can all agree it's an asset. So why wouldn't you call it for what it is and put the application in once everything's clarified? Okay.
I will reinstate standing orders.
Chair, for clarity, some of these issues clearly are operational issues, and there are some reasonable questions that should be posed perhaps to North Yorkshire Sports Development team and also to the steering group around the community use facility, because functionally, in terms of their constitution, there's no reason why they can't open involvement in the steering group to other organisations. They have the ability to co-opt onto their steering group, which might answer some of these issues about operational management. But that all lies outside the process of applying to register an asset of community value. And if there is uncertainty about what that community asset should be defined as, then that needs to be resolved as well. But then it's a question of who has the answer, who can define that effectively. And I think the suggestion there that there are others outside this room who are best placed to come to a view on that. As previously said, a parish council is a statutory body that may make an application. So is a charity or registered organisation based in the community that has a constitution and a bank account, that sort of level of formulation, or an unincorporated group with 21 signatures. So it isn't simply a matter for the town council, and it might be that if that group was emerging with an interest in the management of the facility, that entity might be the best nominee for the registration of asset value, because they would be the first point of contact if there was any reason to invoke the process.
We've had a suggestion, a proposal from Councillor Turner that you suggested that this decision is deferred.
Until we have further information as to...
Would that be an amendment to this recommendation? Or would it be as long?
Because the recommendation is the recommendation, Chair, it can be moved with an amendment as a motion.
Right.
Could I, just for clarification, Mr Mayor, it says that the recommendation is that this decision be deferred, but that's very open-ended, isn't it? What I'm suggesting is it's deferred to the next meeting where we will have, hopefully, more information coming forward and we're in a better, stronger position to make that informed decision. And I think that would be the only sensible thing to do. Speaking for myself, and I'm not speaking for the councillors, I am clear really on what I'm looking at here and I want that information before I say yay or nay.
Councillor Harston?
Would we actually have that information by the next council meeting? I think it would be better if it was deferred and until some future point when that information is available, rather than specifying an actual particular future council meeting.
The next council meeting is the 5th of March. Would we have the information available by then?
Possibly, sorry Mr Mayor, that's possibly too soon to gather all the information we would like. But I just don't want to see this as an open-ended day.
No,
I think we need a definitive time on this.
Councillor Brown?
I'm just a little bit worried. Nobody had mentioned anything about this, about we suddenly needing to register an asset of community value until somebody comes and tells us, oh, we've been invited by North Yorkshire Council to do this, and then all of a sudden we're being told we can't do this, so we want you to do this. We presume, I am presuming, from absolutely no knowledge whatsoever, that this must have something to do with the changes within the secondary schools that's happening at Whitby, about which I don't know if anybody else has had any formal information, but I certainly haven't. And I feel that we're being bounced. We were bounced by the original request. We've not had anything formally from North Yorkshire as to either why that organisation was approached and then why they were told they couldn't. And now we've got members of the public here who obviously have heard something which is causing a lot of concern. And it's just smoke and mirrors. And I definitely think that we're right to say we need more. But as somebody who at the moment looks over at another one of the schools which is apparently going to close, which I've enjoyed, I must admit, watching the greenery and the kids on the playground, I'd like to know what's happening with all the schools, so that we can find out exactly what's happening with all the green areas in Whitby and what the plans are from North Yorkshire. Rather than, because otherwise we're going to have this all over again with every other little plot of green space attached to every school. Can I suggest that, yes, I agree with Councillor Turner, but that we need the full picture, not just little bite-sized bits, and rather than being bounced into anything, I would like to defer it for some proper information.
I understand what you're saying, Councillor Brown, but the issue is this is a motion about a specific application, which is the 3G at Eskdale School and surrounding areas. People can submit applications for assets for anything, but I don't disagree with what you're saying, but in a way we've got to decide what we're going to do with this application. Effectively, are we going to make an application? Are we not going to make an application? Are we going to defer making an application until we get more information?
Well, I'm supporting Councillor Turner's suggestion that we defer until we get further information, and hopefully if we get someone from North Yorkshire we could ask some of these questions, or we could tell them in advance before they come that we will be asking.
Councillor Nutt. Sorry, Councillor Tottenham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we need to get some urgency behind this, rather than have an open-ended deferral, so that we can assess precisely what is going to be included within the asset. Because if we register it now, and then we find that there are things excluded now that we should have included later, then we will get bound up in the red tape that the clerk alluded to earlier. So may I suggest that we defer this for a maximum of 2 months to enable all interested parties to make any investigations that they wish to do, or ask this council to make any investigations on their behalf to whichever authorities they think is necessary, so that we can then make a proper, informed and proper decision.
Councillor Coffin.
Two things. I agree entirely with what's understood. I want more information. I want to see the maps, please. And it wasn't Sainsbury's car park at Eustace Mud. It was home-based and then B&M. And it was also home-based B&M that got the smell as well. It wasn't particularly... I know this because I used to work at home-based and we used to draw it, you know.
Yes, yours did as well. And at the minute, so there's a...
No, well, I think we need to actually, with respect, we've talked around the issue. They've been very informative, but we need to make a decision. This council needs to make a decision what it's going to do. We have a proposal from Councillor Turner that we defer this decision for a set period.
I'm happy to include the 2-month period within that, Mr Mayor.
So if Councillor Mrs Brown is happy to second on that basis,
Yeah.
then that's been moved and seconded and could be put to the vote.
Councillor? Oh, sorry, Councillor.
Yeah, I mean, this is so weak, isn't it? You know, I mean, it's very weak, it's well-delivered. Why don't we just get on with it?
Because we have had a proposal and seconded an alternative motion.
Why don't we just get on with it? As the public have said, you know, the public have spoken. And we just need to get on with it. We need to make a decision for let's kick the can down the road. And I'm very much against this. We should just get on with it. Stop kicking the can down the road and just go for it.
Right, thank you. Councillor Jones.
I'm inclined to be against delaying this any further. There's been a lot of sort of obfuscation in this issue, and I think it's important that we just say about what practically the decision we're making to do is. We're not taking action to protect the asset. That's not, as some people suggest, what is happening. And we'll also not make a decision to hand over the asset to some group, whether it's us or a community group. We're giving ourselves, or indeed another community group, the potential, the ability in the future, if the land of the asset is sold, the chance to put forward a case beforehand. And there's no requirement that the person selling the land, the people of the group selling the land, have to give it to that community asset group. It's quite a minor thing what we're deciding here. And I've heard a lot about why we don't need to make it a community asset, but I've heard nothing from anyone suggesting why making it a community asset would be a problem in terms of reducing any protections on the land or usefulness. I think the issue about the football club being given access to it is very important, but it is fundamentally peripheral to this. It is slightly outside the decision we're making. The only information we need is about whether someone wants to include surrounding land or assets in the overall claim. And I've heard nothing from anyone today that suggests that anyone has a clear vision for adding different surrounding assets into the overall asset of community value. I've heard nothing substantial. So to my mind, there's no reason not to just go ahead with this rather minor decision.
Well, we've had an amendment. We have a proposal that we defer the decision for 2 months. Well, get extra information is gathered that allows this council to take an informed decision. That has been proposed by Councillor Turner and seconded by Councillor Brown. If we have no more discussion, then we will move to the vote on that. All those in favour of accepting the motion proposed by Councillor Turner that this decision is deferred for a period of no more than 2 months while further information is obtained. All those in favour? Against? Abstained? Thank you. And thank you very much for all the contributions from the members of the public. Agenda item 5, committee places, to consider appointments to 3 vacancies that are arisen in the planning and licensing. Clark. Thank you.
Chair, following resignations from council and indeed from the committee, there are 3 vacancies. It would be helpful if members who are not currently members of the planning committee would be willing to put themselves forward as for membership of that committee to enable it to function.
Do we have any volunteers who would like to put themselves forward for the planning and licensing committee?
Yes.
Come on, I've been up ill for 2 weeks, I can't be ill again.
Yes.
Can I suggest that we actually write to the councillors not present at this meeting and ask them if they are willing to stand?
One of them is already, yes. And Councillor Harrison has recently resigned from the committee. So it would essentially be Councillor Wild and Councillor Sumner.
Right. Okay. Do we take a vote on that?
For completeness, Chair.
Propose we write to the remaining councillors absent to see if they wish to attend. Do we have a proposal? Councillor Jones, seconder. Councillor Coughlin. All those in favour? Thank you very much. I now declare this meeting